Hello, my name is Paul and I'm the Accidental Bookseller. Welcome to the channel. So as the title suggests of this video, I picked out 12 classic books that I'm definitely going to be reading in the coming year. Why have I done this? Well, there's two main reasons. Number one, I'm conscious that when I did the mid-year tag, and I did a similar thing in October where you list the books that you're planning on reading or you might get to in the coming months. And I've realised it's an aspirational list and you don't really get to them or get to all of them. And your plans might change or life just gets in the way, shall we say, rather than plans changing. The list is just too big for what you've said you're going to read. And that, I won't say it affects you negatively, but you feel disappointed in yourself that you haven't got to them, even though it's completely not your fault. And as I say, life gets in the way and other things are sometimes more important. So what I thought I'd do is create a manual list of books that's just manageable. The focus is on manageable. So I think 12 books that I'm going to read over the year is, I mean, it's not 12 books in total that I'm going to read in the year. There's going to be other topics as well. I'm going to pick another genre. I'm going to do 12 books from that genre as well. And then I'll mix in some non-fiction in addition to that. But I thought 12 is a manageable chunk of classic books, one a month for the year. The second reason is Booktube and watching channels that talk about classics more than other channels. And I'm watching them and enjoying them and thinking, you know what, Paul, you need to read more classics. I did in earlier in life and deviated as tastes change. And I've just come to the realization that there's a lot of really good books that I need to get my head sunk into and get them read. So without further ado, here's the 12 that I've picked out. The first book I'm going to read in January, the rest are in no particular order, but the first one is Wuthering Heights. And I got this beautiful Harper Muse Classic Artisan edition. Nice big text, and there's just it picks out various headline pieces of prose and repeats them there, and it's got a sort of a beveled texture to it. That's not smooth. There's a bevel in with the branches of the trees. And I got this for, I think it was it £5 or £6, something like that, in the HarperCollins 50% sale a few months ago. And yeah, this is going to be my January read. The next book is Sense and Sensibility, Jane Austen. I've read Pride and Prejudice, and I did Mansfield Park for A-level. I want to get back to Mansfield Park, so probably didn't appreciate it when I was 16. But yeah, I want to read this as principal reason because I also have the parody book Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters. The third book is The Diary of a Nobody by George and Weedon Grossmith. When Border Books shut, which was probably in about 2009, 2010-ish, Border went through a period where they'd absolutely slashed the prices. And so I went to they used to have a big Borders in Coventry, near where I used to live. And so I went in just before it shut and just bought loads of books that I intended to get to at some point. And The Diary of a Nobody is a book that I never quite got to. So it's a thin thing and ideal for picking 12 classics next year. The next book I'm going to read is The Count of Monte Cristo. I've got these two lovely editions of Volume 1 and Volume 2. So I was picking up some children's annuals that I was buying off a lady. There's about 32 children's annuals for around about 15 or 20 quid, because the good sellers at the Sedbergh, where I rent shelves in the bookshop in Sedbergh, where I sell books. And while I was there, one of her colleagues came in and said, I've got 3 boxes of books that I'm looking to sell. There was a relative who was trying to sell the books, and it was an auctioneer's office that I was picking the annuals from. He says, how does £90 sound for the books? And I said, oh, look, I've got too many books as it is. And without me saying no, well, anyway, to cut a long story short, it came down to £60 without me saying no. And when it got by the time it'd gone from 90 to 60, I'd had a chance to survey with my eyes casually what sort of books they were. And I thought, I'm going to get a lot more than 60 for them. So I bought them. And in there was 5 or 6 books like this, really nice soft leather and quite collectible. I've sold 5 of them already at Sedbergh for somewhere between £9 and £12 each. So I've pretty much made me money on the 5 or 6 books that I've sold in this variety. And there's about, well, there's 2 3/4 boxes left over to sell those. And Alan's Reads has been championing Count of Monte Cristo all year this year after reading it. And someone with his taste, you don't ignore things like that. So I was amazed that when I was going through the books, when I got home, the 3 boxes, the Count of Monte Cristo is there. And yeah, 2 volumes. So I am going to read Count of Monte Cristo. The next classic that I'm going to read next year is Anna Karenina. Haven't got it yet. It's on its way. I have bought it. Emily at M. Reads has championed Anna Karenina in a similar way to what Alan has done with the Count of Monte Cristo. So it's been on my mind that while I'm out and about, if I see it anywhere, I'm going to get it. And I saw it online at the mini shop of a chap called the Penguin Chap, he only sells old antique penguins. And that's on its way to me as we speak. And in a similar way to Sense and Sensibility, I want to read Anna Karenina as well, because I've got Android Karenina. Again, another parody book in the same vein as Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters and some of the other books. I've got a Zombie Christmas Carol as well. So that's Anna Karenina that I'm going to read. The next book is The Beetle by Richard Marsh. This is going to be me October Halloween type read, I think. So I'll read the back of The Beetle, which, by the way, Richard Marsh, born in 1857, passed away in 1915, is a pseudonym of the British author born Richard Heldman. He's best known for his supernatural thriller The Beetle, a mystery, published in 1897, the same year as Bram Stoker's Dracula, and initially The Beetle was even more popular. Eminent politician Paul Lessingham is the toast of Westminster, but then the beetle arrives from Egypt, a creature of horror that can change its shape at will and compel others to do its bidding. The beetle terrorizes its victims and will stop at nothing until it is satisfied. As it hunts Lessingham down, the dark and gruesome secret that haunts him is dragged into the light. So this is part of the Penguin, I think it's Red Classics they're called. Yeah, Red Classics. Quite why they're called Red Classics, I don't know, when it's yellow. Fascinated to read this because it's not talked about that much, and I wonder why. It must be half decent if it's a classic. So yeah, there we go. Next one I've mentioned before, and it's Sinclair Lewis's It Can't Happen Here, which is one of the Penguin modern classics. I read the back of this. A vain, outlandish, anti-immigrant, fear-mongering demagogue runs for President of the United States and wins. Sinclair Lewis's chilling 1935 bestseller is the story of Buzz Windrip, who promises poor, angry voters that he will make America proud and prosperous once more, but takes the country down a far darker path. As the new regime slides into authoritarianism, newspaper editor Doremus Jessup can't believe it will last. But is he right? This cautionary tale of liberal complacency in the face of populist tyranny shows it really can happen here. No comment. Next one. John Christopher, The Death of Grass. Another Penguin modern classic. So I'd read Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham only about 3-4 years ago. It's one of my all-time favourites. Absolutely blown away by it. And I went on read it because I loved it so much, especially the writing style of John Wyndham. I'm going to do a post about Day of the Triffids at some point and John Wyndham. It's worthy of that. It's just so blindingly fantastic. But I went online and said, what can people recommend me in the vein of John Wyndham? And a few people mentioned John Christopher and The Death of Grass. Read the back of this as well. At first, the virus wiping out grass and crops is of little concern to John Custance. It has decimated Asia, causing mass starvation and riots, but Europe is safe and a counter-virus is expected any day. Except, it turns out, the governments have been lying to their people. When the deadly disease hits Britain, society starts to descend into barbarism. As John and his family try to make it across country to the safety of his brother's farm in a hidden valley, their humanity is tested to its very limits. This sounds fantastic. Not the cheeriest of premises there, but there was quite a few people replied to the post, and this cropped up more than a few times. So picked it up second hand, and I am really looking forward to reading it. The next one I'm going to read next year is Crime and Punishment, Fyodor Dostoyevsky. No idea what it's about. I picked this up. I think it's a Barnes & Noble edition, this, that I picked up in America for not very much money. Beautiful cover with a beautiful beveled spine. And I thought it's time to read Crime and Punishment, so next year's the year. The 10th book I'm going to read next year is News from Nowhere and Other Writings. In the Penguin Classic series, obviously William Morris is the poet, the designer, craftsman. I've got various other books on William Morris. I was reading Peter Mandelson's autobiography years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and in that he talks about this particular book and recommends it. And as I'm a fan of William Morris and his work, I was completely unaware that it had a classic book as well. So I ordered it, and I've had this on my shelf for quite a long time, and next year's the year that I'll read it. The 12th classic that I'm definitely going to read next year is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Another book I've had for ages since the Border Books shutdown sale, and it's only 141 pages. So if the Count of Monte Cristo knocks me back in terms of time taken to read one book, this should provide something of a catch-up. But another reason why I'm reading Clockwork Orange is because I came into possession of the Clockwork Testament, which I believe is something of a sequel. I got a job lot of about 300 books, which I'm selling on, and this was in the job lot. It's an ex-library book, but even so, I believe it's quite collectible. How much of a sequel it is to A Clockwork Orange, I don't know, but I can't read it until I've read A Clockwork Orange, so that's why next year it's definitely getting read. And hopefully I'll get time to read this one as well. So that's it. 12 classic books that I'm definitely going to read next year. If you have liked the video and you want to see more, by all means click like, click subscribe. Very much be appreciated if you do that. And if you do that, then I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.